Well, good morning again. And now it's affairs from the heart, rather more light-hearted and mixed. I'm not sure whether we've got Fergus this morning. I've sent him an invitation. I hope so. Very nice young man who is making his way in the world as an entrepreneur and knows his wines. And believe it or not, he has one or two other things to say about our economy and so on. So we'll hope that we've got Fergus at some stage. Now, let us look at the headlines. Well, first of all, perhaps I should tell you that it's going to reach about 19 degrees today. It will be some overcast cloud, a little bit of spells, no rain. A bit like yesterday, but a bit more pleasant, a bit more like the latter part of yesterday. So that's where we are at the moment. It's Tuesday, the 7th of June, 2022. And of course, the headlines overnight really are the ones that upset me most. And that is Boris and the confidence vote, which he won, but not by enough to shake off the critics. And to me, it doesn't matter whether you're a Boris fan or not a Boris fan. First of all, if you get rid of Boris, who are you going to put in place? There aren't too many people that can answer that question. In fact, nobody ever does. There are one or two people who've decided obscurely that some former cabinet minister or other might be able to take over, but I rather doubt it. So the question that our leaders must ask themselves is, are we actually dumping somebody and then going into a terrifying time of mankind? 1,000 problems to look at, and we're going to change the leader. Yeah. I personally, I've called on our Rake and Egg program. I've called for the $650 MPs to all resign, and actually most of them not come back. They're useless. They're worthless. And all they're doing is they're kicking up a fuss because they're worried about their nice gravy train may not be handed to them on a plate at the next election. Well, you want to be that way? That's fine, but don't expect us to have respect for you. And I can't find anybody to be demonstrating too much effect, too much support for anything. We are chickenless, chicken with its head cut off, headless. It's about time that somebody did something about it. And for once, in doing something like that about it, you can't blame Boris. What can he do in terms of being the prime minister that he is? Okay, that was the Daily Express, the Daily Mail, much the same. Boris vows, and then to kick on. Let's see. The Times, wounded Victor. Yes, Boris won the vote, but he's wounded politically. But you know, they say a week is a long time in politics. Is something going to happen in the next 2 weeks that will make him a hero again? Financial Times, once again, Johnson wounded in confidence vote. the Metro, the party is over, Boris. The Mirror, the party is over, Boris. The Guardian, not want to own its own success at the moment, I suppose. The Eye, wounded, Johnson in peril. I wonder if others might be in peril because Johnson is in trouble. It keeps everything going on. Now, our lovely, lovely paper, the Daily Star, you always guarantee it comes for some sort of good. And basically what it's saying is, carry on Pinocchio. In other words, the Prime Minister lied and his nose will start to grow enormously. And so it's difficult to those are the basically the headlines. Let's now see what we have in the little store and see what we might share with you. Yes, let's go a bit ghostly. We have a number of ghosts in Lewis. This one is a little bit down the railway track between here and Brighton, in a place called something tunnel. There was a train accident there in the late 1800s. In fact, when the line was just opened and train travel wasn't totally new, but certainly it was giving everybody a bad time, in as much as this newfangled way of travel was vulnerable to danger. But let's just see the ghosts of. There we go. Many people find commuting by train tiresome. But one of the pleasures of taking a train to London is that it passes through some of the most beautiful countryside in the UK. None more so than the view of the countryside as the line approaches Clayton Tunnel, just north of Brighton. The tunnel is the longest on the line, at 1.25 miles, running under the South Downs. It's unusual because the entrance is not the usual railway brick. It is instead designed to look like the gateway to a castle. On top is a cottage built for the railway's lightkeeper in 1849. The tunnel itself was opened in 1841 and the cottage added later. Idyllic. But after 1861 it became a nightmare or at least for those who believe in ghostly goings-on. In August of that year, a night train left Brighton, travelling north to London. Partway through the tunnel, it stopped at what it thought was a danger signal from the lightman. The engine driver was correct. The railway official had indeed given a danger signal, but the train had rushed past him before pulling up. Thinking the train had cleared the tunnel, the unfortunate lightman gave the all clear to a following train. And it slammed into the back of the first train in the dark, killing 23 and injuring 176 more. It was the worst ever accident on the line. And people walking on the downs over the underground passage have reported hearing the screams of the passengers as the trains pile into each other. The line is now also a direct line from Lewes. I've travelled through that tunnel 1,000 times. I've never heard a scream other than the screech of the wheels and brakes. But I've never walked over the downs at that point either. And I turned down an invitation to stay in the cottage overnight. In fact, I get tense each time I go into the tunnel, knowing what had happened more than 165 years ago. But my fellow passengers carry on reading their newspapers, obviously oblivious to both the tragedy and the ghosts. I could sometimes scream at them. The ghosts of Clayton Tunnel. Eerie. Bloody eerie. But you can hear me. I sometimes forget that damn microphone. The ghosts of Clayton Tunnel. And many of you have probably gone through that tunnel without realizing that it has its own ghosts and that it was the scene of that horrific crash. Well, probably 150 years ago now. Incidentally, in doing some of the research for some of these stories, I came across the fact that Charles Dickens was involved in a train crash of about that era, about that time, and that he was in the front portion of the train as it went over a viaduct, and it toppled over, and down it went. And he was lucky because the engine and the first coach stayed on the tracks, and the rest of the train disappeared over the viaduct. I'm not quite sure where it was, but it's not too far from here. And that gave rise probably to this story, the ghost of Clayton Tunnel. So interesting stuff, I think. Interesting stuff. Okie doke. It looks as if perhaps we haven't. I just checked the emails just to see if. And no, we haven't had any response from Fergus. Let's just hope that he's because he can choose his time because he's a busy man, and that he will pop up in a little while. Right. Okay. So we know what the weather is going to be like today. Not bad. We are actually basking in the post Jubilee celebration mode. And one of the things that is a little worrying is that the number of people returning to work is still very low. And it is, to me, one of the things that if they're going to do anything, the MPs should be asking the question, where are the people who work in offices? Because the statistics show that we've got full employment. We've got full employment, but we haven't got enough people to run things properly. We haven't got enough people to go back to work, or people don't want to go to work. Is the whole system of work-related issues for the economy worse than we thought? Are the stats lying? Could well be. It could indeed well be. We need to know if that's the case, because everything that's happening at the moment is dependent upon the government making good decisions, and they're under enough stress from these idiots who are voting in a no confidence thing. Frankly, I make it quite plain. Is I think they should all be barred from running the next election. They're wasting our time and our money. It's not a question of whether Boris is right or wrong, or even that Keir Starmer is right or wrong. But to waste our time and effort and money on what I think is will probably be known in the future as the Boris issue, the Boris cakes, almost like Alfred's burn cakes, is what happened to Boris's cakes, because the waste of time and money and effort at the time when all sorts of things are at our door, including an enemy the issue of Ukraine has not gone away. It's just fallen out of the headlines. And why has it fallen out of the headlines? because of the very things that we've just been talking about. Is there are people who are catching the various trains or going to catch and finding they've been cancelled. The whole thing is a bit of a mess. But at this one, I don't really lay too much at Boris. Boris is on duty in looking after the road system during a threat by the opposition and those who understand what it's all about in terms of work and commerce and industry. But anyway, we'll look at that again in a moment or two. I said on our earlier program that what we did prior to lockdown is we had a number of series of programs, one called CIS. And CIS was a way of, in fact, what not CIS, SIS, is seen in Sussex. And we tried hard to reflect what was going on. So we'll try, shall we? Yes, we will. We'll try to see if we've got this one here called New CIS or SIS. Let's see if it is new.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. Fabulous weekend down at the Jubilee.
Sorry?
Fabulous weekend down
at the Jubilee. Absolutely. Everything was fabulous, wasn't it? Yeah. If you're around, can you say hello? Hi, this is Keith Hayes. Just a quick note about our programme schedule for November and the beginning of December. We keep on creeping along, nudging along, getting new stuff for you. There'll be some updates on the scene in Sussex that you have already. There'll be one or two other things that are coming along. Our friend Sir Jenry down on Priory Park will be bringing you a little bit more history of the region. And also we will have our regular rants. Plenty to rant about. Don't make me laugh. Customer first. And of course we'll try and keep you up to date with the weather. But bit by bit we're adding more services, and as we go along we hope that we can satisfy your entire desire, and you won't want to go anywhere else but to watch Mirador television. We look forward to having you along, and do join us, but you can also catch some of our stuff on Facebook, some of our stuff on YouTube, but generally speaking, this is the best place to come, miradortelevision.com, and you can get absolutely everything that we put out, and some of it's not half bad. Okay, toodle pip, and glad to talk to you, and see you later. Now there's nothing like the English pub. I love popping into my local. Little chat, a little drink, and all is right with the world. The pubs have a long history in England, and here's the British Council to tell us a little bit about them. A bit ideal sounding, I think, to begin with, but what the heck? This film was made in 1944, and if they appreciated a pub then, who can say them nay?
church, the rectory, and the people's homes stands the inn. In its shade and beneath its roof, men of all degrees and of all opinions meet in comradeship and comfort. Side by side with the monastic inns grew the royal inns, which were used by the king's servants when travelling in the Middle Ages. A house in each village was selected for their accommodation. These too in time became commercial inns under such ancient signs as the Crown. Later, the inn yard was used by the postboy as a link between villages and hamlets. The mails, in turn, were carried by stagecoach further afield, and today, much of our civilization can be traced back to these earlier forms of communication which centered round the inn. As the inns grew more important, their yards grew larger, and galleries were added. These formed a convenient theatre for strolling players, who often used the inn for refreshment after their performance. By the beginning of the 19th century, coach travel had become more popular, and the tavern was used as a coaching station. There, luggage was assembled, and passengers would be taken aboard prior to the long drive across the English countryside. Mail coaches built for speed used the inns as halts, where fresh teams of horses were changed in a matter of seconds. Today, beneath the sign of the old coach and horses, you will find bicycles. While on the road, cars pass old toll gates, where once fees were collected for the upkeep of the main road. When the railway brought speed to industrial England, it also brought the new railway taverns. You'll also find the inn on the banks of the English waterways, our oldest transport routes. The cargoes which float past have changed with the centuries. Sail has given way to steam and the petrol motor. The inn signs themselves reflect a great variety of topical humour, interests, sports and history. The load of mischief, a dig at the nagging wife. The volunteer, from the days when warfare was more casual. The White Hart, crest of King Richard II. England's St. George fighting the dragon. And England's St. George refreshing himself afterwards. The Six Bells with its two meanings. The row barge to remind us of more leisurely days, and the cross-handed highwayman of when our roads went so safe. The Fighting Cocks, memories of an old English sport, and the airman to bring our inn signs right up to date. Travel along the English road today and you'll find the modern inn, there to refresh all travellers according to their means. Its appearance and amenities differ widely from the village tavern, but its roots are the same. It merely reflects the temper and taste of a new and swifter age.
Well, 1944 was a nice, swifter age. I wonder what today is or what they would make of us today. But anyway, the pub still exists and that's absolutely great. Well, now food and drink. If you remember, I was trying to get on a food show. So let's take a look. I managed to get most of my food out of the way, but then it was time for dessert. So, did we need good fruit and veg for the dessert? Did we need pumpkins? Not a bit of it. It's been a lovely lunchtime. Here I got home and I thought, from church, and I thought, gosh, it's got another miserable old Sunday lunch all on my own. But no, I got Keith in, I got doppelganger Keith in, and we went into the kitchen and we have taken every step along the way to make absolutely sure that we provided a first-class meal fit for, well, if not a king, at least fit to go on television and help you to create your own lunch in a style similar to this one. Really, this is. Oh, I have not enjoyed a Sunday lunch as much in a long time with or without people. There we are. You see, it's very important to have opened that tin of peaches before we actually put them into the dish, the dessert dish. So there we are. We'll just rely upon looking at them and salivating over them for a moment before we actually go. Right. Now, that's rather a lot for one chap. But remember that we didn't have any wine with lunch, so we've got to make up for that. We've got to compensate for that. So we do that with a few extra peaches. Now, here we go with the ice cream. You see how important it is to have a proper scoop. Yes, there, see? Scoop away, put it gently onto the only got one hand, you see, that's the trouble, only one hand, not easy with one hand, but there we go, it's getting there, a bit of lighter. Actually, if it's a little sticky, it means that the ice cream is good, the ice cream is ripe, it is ready for use. There we go, right, the first scoop of ice cream, but we're going to have 2 scoops today. I sometimes have 3 if I'm feeling, but that fish was so good and so filling that I think I'd better just rely upon 2 scoops today. Well, they're very large scoops, but we'll just 2, just 2. There, and there is a way. There is a way. It's the way you use the wrist to actually get the ice cream, because those scoops are terribly important to the taste. If you don't scoop them like that, it affects the peaches. The peaches don't taste as good. The ice cream, therefore, isn't quite the flavour that it should be. So do be very careful the way that you scoop. So now I'm going to enjoy a dessert. And there you go. And one of us must go through, and one of us must go home. So I'm hoping that this is the award-winning dessert, just to top off that magnificent fish lunch. I think that I'm going to leave you now because I really want to enjoy this. Let me just say goodbye properly.
So that's enough of that. He said, say goodbye properly after that lunch. Oh, never mind. I don't think that I'll make the show somehow. Nevertheless, it's time now for a bit more serious stuff with Star Jackson and her sister Yeva, who we left Star in mid-sentence when she said, "Now it's my turn." And I can show you how we write music after composing it. So let's go to Star.
He never bring you down or leave you alone. Trust him all in all, 'cause he's the light. He'll lead your way through darkest of times. He never let you go.
So you've seen how all this process is happening, and you've seen my sister just sitting behind a keyboard and creating music. So afterwards, this creative process is finished. Now it's my turn as a lyricist to act in terms of writing songs to the lyrics, and I would divide the song and lyric writing process into steps of 4. So basically, when I have the ready material, the material is ready, my sister passes on to me, so it comes out from the first level to the second level. Okay, so you have a plain music, no text, no lyrics, no nothing. It's just the music. Now it's time to make an impact. And so what I do when I have the material ready, meaning that I have the music and I listen to that music for several days, maybe an hour, maybe for a minute. Depends. It depends when you listen, what thoughts and emotions are evoked that will push you to the fact that you start or you would love to write words or lyrics to the song. It takes sometimes a long time to just simply, write a line, a word, a phrase, sometimes 2, 3 thoughts. Sometimes it's just like a brainstorming thing. You have several ideas, you just put them down on a piece of a paper, and then later you combine all the ideas that you have, trying to fit it into the song, into the music that has a certain kind of emotions, and that's kind of a funny part. And then afterwards that you just have all these things ready. Starts, as I said, you have a brainstorming part, you have the time to listen to the music for several days, maybe hours, maybe, I just say, depends, So, it depends how and when it's going to be and happen, how the thought creating process is going to come. Thought delivery process is how I would call that. So basically, if you have all this, starts the creative mass, and that's my most favorite part. So the creative mass is something like that. You got all those papers all around, massy, and it gets even massier when a lot of thoughts are just added to these things, and then you have to kind of start the sorting process. And you have these many ideas, and then now you have to choose which one is good, which one's going to be in the first line, which is going to be in the second line, and then what is going to be the chorus part like, so everything as it is. So you have this creative mass happening right here. And as you've seen, the papers and the blueprints that I have, after that starts stage 4. It's the final stage where the music and the lyrics, they perfectly fuse in together, and you have a perfect song combined with perfect lyrics. So this is much like that my sister, aka Yeva Sujan, is providing me the skeleton, mistake that the music party composed music is the skeleton. And what does the lyricist do? The lyricist adds up some seasoning and some, character, and why not also a taste to the song that is going to be provided to a great audience, because, it must have an impact first. It has to make an influence second. If the music is good, but the lyrics are not that good, it means that it ain't not going to make any difference. So what you have to do is you have to listen carefully to the music piece that you have, so that you can kind of try to understand the inner world of the composer, what they want to say through that music piece. And that is a very important thing, that both the lyricist and the composer at least know each other pretty well, so that they can understand the ideas of one another of just creating a song and the lyrics combined. Thanks for watching Murder TV. It was me, Star Jackson, from Yerevan, Armenia, special for Murder TV. So, don't forget to subscribe to the channel of Murder TV to see More things coming. Bye bye.
Oh, the sun gets in my eyes, and I'm afraid that's it for this week, just as well. Probably. If I start to sing, that will ruin absolutely everything, particularly after that lovely rendition from Eva. And I may say that we will hear more of that because she's made some more records since and has given us the right to play them. So we'll be bringing those to you later on in the season, as they say. More fresh stuff next week. More fresh stuff daily, of course, with the rants, the editorials, call them what you will, and plenty of other stuff floating around between now and Christmas. So do keep on tuning in. You never know what you might find. Till we see you again, to the pip.
He never bring you down or leave you alone. Trust him all in all, 'cause he's the light. He'll lead your way through darkest of times. He'll never let you go.
There. That was one of the series of programs that we did prior to lockdown. They needed a bit more resource than we've got right now, but we are getting back to being able to provide that sort of interesting stuff, not only about Lewis, but about the world generally. And the train of thought as to why Star Jackson was there just shows how our minds work at Mirador. First of all, Star it lives in Yerevan in Armenia, a very talented young lady. But I met her some years ago. But when we were doing some programs on the Priory, and we will be showing you some of those programs over the next week, that we needed some suitable music, and the music that Star's sister Yeva had performed seemed very suitable, and since they between them wrote it and she performed it, and they gave us the rights, so we were able to show that music as a feature in our stories about the Priory. So it seems sensible to us to talk to Star and find out how do people get around to composing music. I mean, I wouldn't have a clue where to start. So that's the interesting parts. Now, let me just. We were congratulating ourselves on the things that happened here for the Jubilee, and indeed, what a fantastic weekend it was. But one thing I think that we've got to do is we have got to find out where around Lewis the Grinch is living, because for some reason we seem to be intent upon making this the dullest town in the whole of the United Kingdom whenever there's anything to celebrate. Our Christmas offering is a little better this year, but it basically is woeful compared to what other communities do, and certainly other towns in the United Kingdom. And you could be forgiven by thinking that perhaps we didn't pay too much attention to the Jubilee until the very last minute. Now, the town council did approve £15,000.
Unknown caller.
And I'm sorry. Here we go. I forgot to switch my. Phone off. The Grinch, for some reason, swallows us at Christmas. We really don't have much whoop to do at Christmas, and it's a great pity. I make a comparison with the little city of Pristina in Kosovo, where, with a population of 98% Muslim, as they have a nativity scene outside the hotel. They have a mini moke tearing around the town with a Father Christmas in, playing carols. They have they dress up the stores. They do all sorts of things. And this is a 98% Muslim community. And it makes me wonder what it is, what mentality the Grinch has managed to put into Lewis. Because once again, £15,000 for a firework display was great. But I mean, and particularly since the weather was so bad, is 15 minutes, it was all over. And wonderful though it was. But there was no, well, you can't say no, because there are some shops and odd individual homes that put up some bunting and so on. But did we deck ourselves out? Did we pretty the town? No, we did not. And it is so sad that the political leanings of our council seem to favour the Grinch. I suspect that the Grinch is lurking in the hills around Lewis at the invitation of the various councils. Of them all, the town council is the better of the organisations, but we've got 3 councils in Lewis. Well, in theory we do. Of course, the district council is now buggered off to Eastbourne. And if you think local people are going to get used to that, you've got another thing coming. It's almost impossible now. To be quite honest with you, why should we bother? The onus isn't upon us to go and do our business in Eastbourne, or I understand there's some presence in New Haven. The onus isn't upon us to go and put ourselves out. We have a council that is considered to be serving us, and they're not serving us in the least. It's abysmal. It fits in with everything else that's crumbling around the country. If we're not going to make an effort, we can't expect other people to get excited for us. And we didn't make an effort. In fact, the council didn't make any effort at all. What it did was it made some money available to a little ad hoc committee that tried to do something for the Jubilee, and it was a fine thing that the bonfire societies all came together in one. to arrange a spectacular firework display. But as I say, it was about half an hour of 4 days of frolicking. The rest of the country frolicked while we sat and watched Lewis burn. No, it was an exaggeration, of course. But why is it that this town loses any verve or sense of being part of what's happening in the rest of the country, the rest of the world, for that matter? I was talking to a taxi driver yesterday. Nice bloke. He drives G&M taxis, George and Mildred, I call them, and it's a very good taxi company. In fact, I reminded him that in 1997, when we had our very first local radio station, Radio K-Burn, is that their taxi drivers did the traffic reports for us. They phoned in the morning to let us know where the road blockages were and so on. And very, very good it was. Very good it was. But he said he's been man and boy, and he recognizes people in the street to say hello to less and less and less. And of course, we know that this question, and not to be offensive, about down from Londoners, DFLs, down from Londoners. Well, those people can, if they wish, integrate into our community. We would want them to, and we would expect them to, and we would hope that they would. But they don't seem to want to. And as a consequence, we have this remoteness that old and young, those who were always here and those who are new. And unfortunately, because of the economy and the house prices and so on and so forth, is those who are here new to live are now beginning to outnumber those who have been here for ages. Well, even that is okay if the newcomers will start to integrate themselves into some of the traditions and the events that we have here. Dear old Grinch. He's still around, I'm sorry to say. All right, where are we now? It's 10:39. The time is creeping on. So let us see right now. I guess we haven't got. One never knows. Fergus this morning. But he's a very busy young man and does a great job with his wine company. And I always like all right. Shall we? Let's take potluck again. And here is a program that we made, which is rather a long one. That's 19. I don't think we'll go to that one today. I don't think so. Here's one that is what we put down as a year end, the end of the year for 2020. So it may be interesting to see what we were doing or what we did do in 2020, if it's not too long and too boring. So we can dip our toe in, can't we? We can indeed.
Next up, bottled poetry. All about wine tasting, and some information. for the next episode of Kathleen's Corner, the lovely Stephen has another issue he wants to discuss.
Welcome to Mirador.
Give us back our town. Beer, wine.
So, thank you for joining.
Hey, Ellie, come on, give us a kiss. Come on.
Do admire the hanging gardens of Babylon on the way. They can't even cut that back properly.
Hello. At last I've caught you asleep.
You did hold up a Bible upside down, but you held it up.
Hey there.
Hello, my name is Leslie Hills and I paint portraits. They're sold for cancer research, and this Christmas Mirador Television are putting on a competition just for fun, and we'd like people to send in a self-portrait and also a photograph of themselves as well.
Done that fire or not?
Are you working?
You're taking a picture, you film.
I'm filming. You're gonna have to work now.
Going.
Well, good morning. It's Keith Hayes at Priory Park in Lewis, standing or sitting by Jenry, our mascot. Hello.
Breaking news, November
Not really.
1967.
Who are you looking for?
Carl Stokes, elected mayor of the city of Cleveland,
The bar is
Ohio.
open, the hotel is open.
The first black American man of color to be elected the mayor of a major American
Hi,
city.
welcome to Mirador Television. My name is Mark Payton, and I'm outside the offices of Stratton Parker in Lewis. Adrian Passingham, the partner there, is going to talk to us now about the property market in 2020. Over to you, Adrian.
I'm Adrian Passingham. I've been an estate agent for 38 years, predominantly in Sussex. Property's been a passion, always has been. My father was a estate agent before me, which I suppose has probably led me into it.
We can't kick.
What one do you want us to...
If you start with the one on your right.
On our right.
This one.
This one, yeah.
It's looks good.
Well, it
But
doesn't
you
look
see,
too
this one
bad.
doesn't look as appetising,
Oh, you know,
so
it's-
I'd almost want to go for that one first to get it over and done with.
See, this one looks more homemade to me,
Oh, okay.
actually, because that's the sort of design I would make. We've made
Yes,
those
that's
before.
true.
Next up, Stephen Catlin, who has a very interesting announcement to make this week. Hello everyone, and welcome to this brand new programme where we're going to be talking about all things Strictly Come Dancing.
upsurge in community spirit, because I do think that the pandemic has brought out the very best in people. So, you know, it's been a terrible experience, but I think it has had a silver lining in the sense that people are looking after their neighbours. They are running food banks. They are doing their very best for each other.
Well, that was a funny story too, but you know, Lewis's economy right now is largely a retirement-based community. We're about 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours and a half from Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Washington. So we draw from those areas primarily for retirement.
So Sussex has got itself a new duke. Apparently, the title was offered to Harry as a carrot, inducing him to name the date that he would get married.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Musho, and I'm in New York City, and I'm standing in front of the fantastic Seagram building just right on Park Avenue on this really beautiful day. The architects for this building were Mies van der Rohe and also Philip Johnson, and the structural engineer was Severed Associates.
Gonna do it in a smart car.
From just a little bit of shopping in town and my little walk through the bits of parkland around and about, just to give my legs a stretch. Interestingly enough, the shops are still evolving their methods, so they've changed the way we come in and out, so it's even better.
Everybody, Melissa Conti-Winton here, and I am in Tarrytown, New York, right across the street from where I live. There is a bridge, and they are just about to open the walk path, and I'm so excited because we've been waiting for such a long time. The bridge is named after our former governor, Mario Cuomo, and his son, Andrew Cuomo, is about to cut the ribbon to allow us to go across the bridge.
So we did some pretty interesting things in 2020, and some of them are worth remembering. Our association with the United States, and particularly Lewis in Delaware, was strengthened, and I hope that this coming year that we will go back to that. and that we will return. In fact, we still have yet to invite our new mayor, Shirley, down to have a chat to us and let us know what her thoughts are. We had a good relationship with Stephen Catlin while he was mayor. And all in all, I think that it's one of those things that if we're going to have at least an element of community involvement with local television, that's what we should have. So we might as well carry on and see what we've done in the past. I hope that we've done plenty of interesting things. Shall we? Let's try this, which is a part 3 in October the 11th, and that will be just before and now it's quite a long one, this, so we'll probably cut it off long before we're finished. But let's see what interesting stuff might be on this one.
Oh, 63 pubs, 17 breweries. Lewis had that many in the middle of the 19th century. But it didn't mean that they were all heavy drinkers. On the contrary, the drink that they got in those pubs was probably much milder than the drink we get today. But the reason there were 63 pubs was that in Lewis, and in many parts of the country for that matter, the water was undrinkable, and so families would trot off to the pub, children included, so that they could have something to drink that wasn't going to kill them. The other thing was that we tend to think of nowadays that we can heat houses and we can stay warm in 1,000 different ways. Well, perhaps not 1,000, but a good many. And for some reason, we didn't really pick up on what the Romans did, because they introduced, I think that there's an example of it in Fishbourne in West Sussex, they introduced central heating with hot water floating through channels to keep the houses, their villas, warm. We seem to have lost that skill for a long while. So in the middle of the 19th century, in the 1830s and 1840s and 1850s, houses, particularly in the winter, were pretty damn miserable places. They were cold, and to make sure that they could get warm for at least part of the day, families would trot off to the nearest pub, and they would sit and they would drink and they would be jolly, and they would actually cozy up to the person next to them and get some heat. Well, forgive me if I'm a little itch, but occasionally just a little itch gets in the way. These pubs, by the way, I mean, there are not many, but several of them extant in Lewis, no longer pubs, and some of them were no more than houses, and people would virtually go into the front room and they would sit down and have a few drinks with their neighbours and friends, and they would get warm and they would get jolly, and they would drink at least something that they knew wasn't going to kill them. So I'm quite interested in the history of the pubs, and I unearthed a film made in 1944, and it's a bit idealistic, but nonetheless, it was made about the history of pubs and what pubs were like leading up to the end, by the way, not the beginning, the end of the Second World War. So that is the next programme in this third part of Scene in Sussex. I hope you enjoy it. It's only brief, but we're going to bring you the entire film over the next 3 weeks, bit by bit, and we've tried to break it into reasonable parts. And that's followed by how to write lyrics for a song. Not really how to, but how, one lady, it's you'll be scratching me under the armpits next. How one lady does it for her sister, and the two of them are a terrifically talented team. And I bumped into Star Jackson, perhaps 15 years ago, when I was in Armenia, and she was obviously a very, very bright and very talented young lady, and we've stayed in touch over the years. And when her sister released her first song, the first major song, we played it on Mirador, and I'm happy that we did, because we use it as the backdrop to our series on the Priory. As you know, we're very keen on history, and the Priory throws up 1,000 stories, and the very first one that we did, Yeva, Star's sister, sang the song that is the backdrop to that program. So two sisters, incredible characters, note the spectacles, but an interesting story, I think, and we'll hear more from them as Mirador goes forward. So that's it for the third part and the final part of Scene in Sussex for this week. I hope that you enjoyed it. We'll try and get better. We're always trying to get better. We appreciate that we make some mistakes, sometimes dreadful mistakes, but that's what local television is all about. So please join us. Please enjoy this third part, and I look forward to seeing you in the not too distant future. Toodle pip.
Flanked by the church, the rectory, and the people's homes, stands the inn. In its shade and beneath its roof, men of all degrees and of all opinions meet in comradeship and comfort. Walk through any English market town and you'll find the inn at the center of its life. On market day, the people from the country around meet there to discuss the trend of prices, their children's health and their home affairs. It's the same in the villages. When the sun warms the earth, they sit outside and watch the world go by. At the English inn today, there is a hospitality that to the host is just as much a sacred charge as it was to the monks and barons in the Middle Ages, who first gave bread and ale to travellers. Often the only sanctuary in out-of-the-way parts, the monasteries had a lodge open to pilgrims and other wayfarers. Later, these lodges became separate establishments and were eventually run as inns, under such signs as the Pilgrim's Inn. One example of monastic origin is the Bull, which gets its name from the papal bull or bill, not the animal. These inns of England have seen history happen in their yards. Pilgrims and warriors have trodden their stairways. Here medieval knights refreshed themselves on their journeys to the Crusades to fight under the banner of St. George. The inns have preserved much of England's architecture. The early inn has preserved some of the finest carvings and treasures. Like the church, it was a sanctuary. Hence, most of these carvings have a religious meaning.
Warm greetings from Yerevan, Armenia to London, UK, Lewis, more precisely. So my name is Star, and my good friend Keith asked me to record a video which will be telling how me and my sister are creating the songs. So basically I just wanted to greet the Murder TV and express my gratitude for giving me a chance to tell you how it's all happening. So probably in the previous programs you've seen the song of Yeva, because Keith has put her song several times on a TV, and that is why today I'm just going to tell you basically how the song creating process is happening and how it becomes a reality when you have just a raw material, a song, and music, and then you need to put and stamp and carve words in it to give it a more elegant look, so to say. And before we pass on to the part where I will tell you how am I creating the lyrics to the music created by Yeva Sujan, I will just tell you a little bit what it looks like basically. The song creating process is much like a factory. Imagine you produce something in a factory, so you got a raw material that goes through so many machinery until it comes out in a final result, just resulting in something good and productive and useful for the people. So much the same we can tell about is songs. So song or a music is a material, like you can see these roses over here, they smell pretty good. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so basically the song or the music is the same. Like the music is the raw material that goes through this factory. It is produced by my sister. She composes something within the range of her imagination and her feelings, emotions. She put it all into it. And then later when this music comes out, of this machinery creating process, it is passing on to the second phase, which is called the creating of the lyrics to the song. And basically what you do is you stamp and carve those words into that music, and which makes it pretty cool and awesome. But before we pass on to the second part of how it is done, I just want you to view a short video of me and my sister just creating and of the creative process, how this music creating process is being produced. So now let's take a short break and watch this video, and afterwards I'll be back and tell you how the rest goes.
Gina. Yay.
cheaper.
So you've seen how all this process is happening, and you've seen my sister just sitting behind a keyboard and creating music. So afterwards, this creative process is finished. Now it's my turn.
He never bring you down or leave you alone. Trust him all in all, 'cause he's the light. He'll lead your way through darkest of times. He'll never let you go. And he'll be there for you. And he'll be there for you. He'll never bring you down or leave you alone. Trust him all in all, 'cause he's the light. And he leads your way through darkest of time.
So that's it. Star Jackson and her sister Yeva leave us. I hope that we've brought some stuff to you. January, me trying my Sunday lunch. And I'm sorry if it sounds as if I was taking the pee out of some of the present food shows. I was. I'm fed up with turning on the television only to find there are 27,000 people all telling me how I should cook stuff with food elements that I've never heard of before and will never hear of again. And actually, when they are quizzed about them, they've never heard of them either. So I thought that perhaps it might be a bit light-hearted for you to show how, on one occasion anyway, I cooked my own Sunday lunch. All right, until next week, then, this is Keith Hayes, and glad to have you with us, and I hope that you'll come back many a time. Till then, toodle pip.
So there we are. Those are the things that we were doing prior to lockdown, and we are now working on all sorts of things to bring you news and information, and a whole host of folderol stuff that serious stuff from what's happening around. but also a little bit of a laugh, a little bit of a giggle, and a little bit of stuff that you may not find anywhere else on any other television service. So that's it. Just one thing that we always have to do, just a quick visit to just before we go, just to let you know that tomorrow the pairing of Max Hurd and Stuart Dolby will be hosting most of the show. I'm lurking in the back room, so I don't get totally the morning off, but at least they have to worry about getting stuff on air. And so the rest of the week, we hope that in cooperation with the Speakers Festival, that we'll have some pretty heavyweight interviews with people of great interest, ranging from authors down to former broadcasters. Sandy Gall we've invited on, Gavin Esler we've invited on, and then there are other people, Alan Johnson, who always tweaked the tail of the government with his diaries and so on. So I'm very happy to say that we've got some good stuff between now and Friday. So thank you very much for being with us. The beautiful Sally has just come into the room, so I'm reluctant to go.
Sally's here. Beautiful one.
Oh, Sally. Yeah, I reiterate that there are three lovely ladies here that greet me every morning, and it's just a joy to come in here. It really is. It kicks the day off in a real way. And here she is, busy working. Oh, she's pouring 10 gallons. Oh, no, it's not 10 gallons.
That's just for me.
Anyway, good to have you with us from the White Hart in Lewes, East Sussex. We had an interesting morning, I think, if you've been dipping in and out, and perhaps one or two things made you want to stay. All right, it's now 11:16. Outside, it's going to reach 19 degrees today, and a very good level of heat. That is, yeah. It's not a brilliant day today. It's a bit overcast, but I don't think there's any threat of rain. And tomorrow it gets even better. As we go along in the week, it's not a bad atmosphere. Is that the word? Summer is an English summer. It's not cold. Well, good fun this morning. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow morning, or at least Max and Stuart will see you tomorrow morning. I may actually poke my nose in from time to time. Toodle pip.